What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
Today's guest is the genius in the studio behind Grammy Award-winning and multiple platinum record-achieving works. Please welcome Mixmaster Danny Wyatt to the show.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Look at you, next level sound. Well, hello, platinum record maker.
Oh, shucks.
Ah,
Shucks. Congratulations. I just wanted to be able to congratulate you in person. I mean, if Zoom is in person, which it is, it's close.
it is now, and thank you. But this is about you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's you.
Well, listen, you're a huge part of my being a recording artist now. In that, I learned so much from you about mixing and mastering. You are the mix master, as you're known globally, and you run, of course, Next Level Sound. And you have just this illustrious, incredible career, both, of course, as an educator, but in the studio, mixing, mastering so many albums that have, hit #1 on the charts and sold platinum. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long and non-linear journey.
Yeah.
And I've worn many hats, and I've worked every job in the restaurant of music production. And I think that's kind of helped give me my perspective. I started out as a recording artist, percussionist on Warner Brothers, and then went to the studio a bunch and wanted to have more control, creative control. So I learned how to become a producer, sort of, backwards. And then after getting into production, I wanted to learn how to engineer. And then after engineering for many years in New York City and having little kids, I wanted to be home and teach engineering and production. And so that's been the last 30 years in a nutshell. But it's been really fun. And last 5 years have been devoted to Next Level Sound, which is and you are a huge contributor to our little boutique online school, and with your vocal course that everybody loves. And so it was when the pandemic hit, we felt like geniuses. We were like, we built the ark before the rainstorm.
Yeah.
And everyone at first, at the beginning of the pandemic, was like, oh, online music production courses, let's go. And, we got a big bounce early on. And then people are like, oh, I'm not going to be home for 3 months. It looks like I'm going to be home for 2 years. And, so it got scary, but we have built a really great base. Yeah. And everyone's happy, thanks to people like you and course designers and stuff. So,
well, it's such a cool school that you run. And my very favorite thing about it is that it's cross genre, which of course, is like one of my biggest passions, is like, especially being an opera. It's like, how do we break down these walls? How do we branch into pop? How do we go into hip hop? To bring it back to the Grammys, actually, that was the most inspiring thing about being in that room, was being amongst everyone who was in different genres. And what we had in common was music.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what genre, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a producer, an engineer, artist, it's all like, we're all kids that started expressing ourselves through music. And that is a really cool community to be a part of.
It's the best. It's the best because what happens is the cross-pollination, where, the bees are flying to different flowers and landing and picking up the pollen. And you end up with these things that you never could have planned on paper or intentionally. I mean, it's just, they're these organic things, and we're lucky. And I listen to all kinds of music across the day, depending on my mood and the context of whatever I'm doing. And I know you do too. And it's just the way we are, I think. So, and we're sincerely passionate about lots of different genres of music that sometimes you wouldn't think could end up on the same buffet table, you know?
Yeah.
But it's really fun, and different ages and genders, and everybody's at the school. So, and everyone
Yeah.
gets along. We don't use the same plugins always. We don't make the same kind of music, but we get along.
Right.
If
Right.
the whole world could be like
Totally. Well, and I truly believe that we're kind of at the precipice here of a post-genre world. You know, I think the walls are just crumbling down. And
but it is like that. I mean, when I grew up, 100 years ago, there, outside of our school, Berkeley High School, there was a park. And if you were a disco kid, you sat on one side. And if you were a rock kid, you sat on the other side, and you went to different parties and did different things. And the music completely separated everybody.
yeah,
But now having kids with these playlists, it's eclectic, and they're listening to everything. And it's right, for lack of a better word,
well, yeah, totally. I'm a big Lil Nas X fan, of course. And, when his first, I think it was his EP that dropped, and everyone was like, what genre is this, in interviews? And he just said, yes.
I mean, there was a big scandal of kicking him off the country charts and all that stuff. He won.
Yeah, and Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus were really instrumental in making sure he was acknowledged in that world, of course, because they're country royalty, even though they're both controversial at times. But
100%. And it brought people together who otherwise would not have necessarily been brought together. And that's that cross genre thing, that it's just, it is, like you said, it is the new reality, and we're all the better for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mentioned, I think in the past couple of weeks, that I was sitting with Justin Bieber's team at the Grammys.
Yes.
And it was just like so incredibly cool. And I kind of assumed they didn't know what opera was, and they assumed that I didn't know their music. And it was like, I've been listening to your music for years, and they thought it was so cool that I was in opera. And they were like, oh, wow, you like trained and you really know how to sing, It was kind of amazing though. And, the stereotypes and work in both ways. And, but really we are all the same. And so anyway, throwing it back, that's what I love about Next Level Sound, is that everybody's coming in from different genres and all learning from each other. And that's a really inspiring community to be a part of.
Like I said, I don't know. We didn't plan that. That just happened, and very international too. I mean, really, it's, we're based in New York. We're founded in New York City, but more than half of the school is from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And lots of fun, crazy places. And
so cool.
And in the bedroom producer community, it can be very isolating.
Yeah.
I mean, you've produced by yourself, recorded your own vocals, done all the production mix. I mean, it's a lot. And sometimes to be able, and people are in different places all over the world, but to be able to show up online in like a Zoom meeting like this and play a work in progress and be like, I can't hear this anymore, I'm lost. And people give you the top 3 things to fix, and and it just works great. And that's a big part of the school too, is just people who are in places where it's hard for them to get to bricks and mortar community. They can just log on to Zoom and get feedback on their stuff, and from smart, kind people who come from different genres and perspectives. And it's just cool. Like sometimes I don't do anything. I just open up the room,
Well, you create debates and share, wisdom, which is at genius level. So that's a lot.
Well, I appreciate that.
Very generous. Because no, you helped me so much through my first album, and that you mastered it. And it was a process, because I was at home recording in a closet, doing absolutely everything wrong because I didn't know what I was doing. But it was like this urgency to create during the pandemic. And, now 2 years later, I know a little bit more.
But you jumped right in. And really, I think when a lot of creative people were crying in their pillows, and I think we all did some of that anyway, but then you created this incredible body of work, and did it all by yourself, all for the first time, just really, and
you were
so
there.
beautiful and so celebrated. No, it's amazing. It was so really fun, amazing to be a part of it. And I remember it was interesting, not to get techie, but it was just when Cubase, which is what I use and you also use a lot of times. I know you use different things, but they just created batch processing. So we had so many songs that you had created and so many songs with little changes that were critical, important changes.
Oh, yeah.
So what I would do is I would get all the changes, put them all in, and then I do my batch processing bounce and I'd go to bed and I'd wake up to like 22 mixes that were all printed that I didn't have to sit there and do. And I was like, this is made for Zach James on this project. It was great. It was amazing.
Oh, no.
Batch processing, just, yeah.
Well, I'm still rinky tinking GarageBand a lot of days, but it's just that familiarity.
I think just back to the universalist, non-denominational approach to music production, it doesn't matter. I mean, it really is a personal choice. And most of the producers that, in our school and in our orbit, they're moving in and out of different platforms, and it's whatever suits them and inspires them at that time. And it can be very fluid. It's not religions and stuff.
Sure. Well, one of the biggest things I learned from you almost immediately was what mixing is. And of course, you pride yourself on creating the perfect mix. And that's a big part of what you teach at Next Level Sound. So in a nutshell, for a kindergartner, what would you say is a perfect mix?
I think the perfect mix is inextricably connected to the production. And I think that sometimes, if you're writing vocal lines, you can paint yourself into a corner and write a line that's impossible to sing. And you can produce a production that's impossible to mix.
Sure.
Because of the layering and too much competition in certain frequency zones and too many rhythmic ideas that are all at the same time, or whatever it is. So I think that mixing and production are really linked, and the more space you leave in your productions, the easier it is to mix.
Yeah.
So sometimes, so I don't know if that's a good answer, but I would say that a great mix, and then there's the mastering too, right? Because that's the other thing, is the cooking and the baking, and they both, or the filmmaking and the color correction. I mean, it all has to be good to make that final thing that just is has that emotional masterpiece. I don't see the seams, kind of go straight into the bloodstream kind of thing. Yeah. But I think a great mix is something that is emotional. I think if you capture the emotion, that's really what music is, why we're all drawn to it at the end of the day. Sure. And if you can translate the emotion, it's more important sometimes than technicality.
Yeah. Well, and emotion, I mean, speaking of the walls coming down, the emotion of opera and that visceral, almost moaning that turns into singing is actually, quite similar to the emotion of an artist like Billie Eilish or Olivia Rodrigo, who's just tapping into something that's very just below the surface and that we can all relate to. And it is that emotional experience that we're looking for.
It is that. And for most people, they don't know what a kick drum is, and they don't know what a hi-hat is, and they don't know what a sub bass is, or maybe they do, but maybe they don't. But they know that when they hear a certain song, they feel something. Right. And that's why they get in their car or whatever, they put on their headphones, get on the train, and they go into that space, because they feel something. And they want to stay innocent of the technicalities and the techniques of things, just so they can have that innocent experience. And it's funny when an artist like you get in, you educate yourself, you start to learn all these things and then you have to always then push that back and go straight again for the emotion.
Sure.
And it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, it is. I gotta say though, the most I've learned in a saturated period about singing from a technical standpoint has come from the last year of being behind a microphone and having to listen to myself back. Yes. And I've learned so much, and I'm a different singer because of that.
Here's the thing. People think a microphone is a camera. It's an instrument. And it's much more like a violin than it is a camera. Right. And what happens is, once you start to play it like an instrument and get different sounds out of your microphone,
Yeah.
then the fun starts.
Mm.
And when people see it in the video, they see people moving around a mic and they think it's just to look cool for the video.
No.
It's not.
Yeah.
You're playing that mic when you lean in for that proximity effect and that you fill it up with bass, and then you go for a high note and you turn your head a little bit not to spike the mic.
Yeah.
And when you learn all that stuff and you start to be able to play that mic, I mean, that's everything. And then you're having fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Too awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been so fun. There are two questions I ask all my guests, and I must ask them of you before you head out to teach classes all over the world, I'm sure, today. First off, if you could go back in time to any moment in your life and tell your younger self in that moment one thing, what would it be?
Wow, you got me. I would say to keep the faith, you know. And I think you know, you and I, we are of that certain ilk where we never had a plan B.
Right.
We just never entertained a plan B. And when everything works out great and you win a Grammy, you feel like a genius.
Sure,
because
sure.
You rejected anything that was going to get in your path, and you got to that place. So, you know, and then when things aren't going so well, you feel like a hard-headed, stubborn dreamer or something.
Yeah.
You know, so but I think, you know, making the choice of music, whatever it plays in your life, if it's your whole life as it is with you, if it's a really wonderful, cathartic space that people can go to as something that they also do with other things, it doesn't really matter. But to make time for music, to fulfill your dreams, you know, if you're in that, and that's all I've ever done, because I never had a plan B since ever. I think for those moments when you were feeling like it all wasn't going to work out, just to tell yourself to have that faith, you know.
Absolutely. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. Final question.
Okay.
What is the meaning of life?
It's a mystery.
Mm.
And that's the best part.
I love that. Yeah. Well, Danny Mixmaster Wyatt, thank you so much for coming on. What Happened Was on the Dallas Opera Network and talking my favorite subject, music.
Thank you so much for having me, Zach, and congratulations once again on the huge Grammy win. And it just gave us all incredible joy just to see you achieve that, and it's, you know, you radiate on everyone. So thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, we've been on a journey together for, I think, like 20 years now. So, you know,
thinking that
thank you.
Interview too. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And you were the engineer behind the first recording I ever made, of course, Il Sogno. So that was major.
Decades, man. We've been doing this for decades.
Just a minute. Yeah. All right. Be well, spread the joy and the knowledge, and talk to you soon.
Will do. Thank you, Zach. Cheers.
That's all for today's episode. Puppies and rainbows till we meet again.